Second part of the video, again, this is a test to try to have the chart in line with what happens on obviously on the market, but what I've written down on my trading journal. This is the DAX. First trade was here, and there is a relatively big stop here, and this is the initial stop. This is if you really are completely wrong about the breakout of the market. You have a breakout of this level here, so immediately I would put a stop just above the daily pivot, and I know that in advance anyway. So the first trade was particularly good. I actually made 15 points, and then the market went up. I made that 5 points, and I was stopped out when the market went up. You then have another trade here. This is the signal. You really want to wait for this or this. Well, let's see, because the signal comes on a bar that has a high at big round number. The first target is this one, but really a better target would be this one at about 20. Right, this is where it started, and this is where it just touched again. So if I put a good enough buffer, something like 7 points from the big round number, on this kind of pattern, I have a pretty good probability to get at least 10 or 15 points, depending on where I enter, when the market tests this high here. So once again, I may start with a pretty big stop down here, but as soon as I have this breakout, I move my stop just a little bit below the daily pivot, in this case the daily pivot. I get my points, and then the market goes down again. Here there could have been another possible re-entry, but it was 10-15. 30, 34, it would have been probably a loss. In the afternoon, we had this first trade here, the first signal here. Why didn't we take this one? Well, first of all, there's resistance here once and twice, and then there is an R1. So to me, this is not a very high probability trade. Yes, there are some very good signs, and I will explain them later on. The market always bounced first at this moving average, and then it started bouncing at this and this, and it's going down. But I decided not to take this, and it would have been a mistake. It was a mistake, because I would have had at least my 10 points. But looking at this, the market is definitely going up, and the market is definitely where you have a range here, but every time they try to push it down below this moving average, the bulls are pushing it up. So here I decided I just wanted to get in before above this range here, but it was 230, and I don't want to trade at 230 when New York opens, so I had to wait for the next bar. The next bar, at this point, I really had to wait for the breakout of this, but it was good because I had my other scalp. The market goes down. Now what happens here? Well, you see the market bounced here, bounced here, bounced here, bounced here. Now you have another small range here. So do I really want to wait for the market to break out this one? No, I know that the bears are definitely not in control. They had their chance. There's a doji here, there's another kind of doji here. If anything, the bulls are stronger. So I actually decided to trade at about 58 with an aim to get to 67, 68. I had enough space and time to put the stop at break even if the market would have paused and went down here. As it happened, I had my other scalp here. The initial stop would have been this one here, and then I put it at break even. So pretty good day, even if just for scalping on DAX. Finally, YM. Only one trade on YM. The morning wasn't very conducive. I filtered this one because there was a correlation with the DAX. I was already in the DAX, so this is not valid. This one I filtered because it was way too close to daily pivot. This one I filtered again. It was 2 o'clock. And the reason for that was, well, I wasn't particularly happy to get in before this one here, but there were quite a lot of news, and I was already quite active on the DAX. This came a little bit late, and I didn't feel like trading this one. If I traded this, the stop would have been down here, and after this, and especially just before the New York Open, I would have put it out at break even. Now here is 240. But as you remember, we were already in, luckily, with the DAX because I had a signal at 235. So luckily this prevented us from having this really iffy trade. Wouldn't probably have been a loss, but it was really iffy. And notice how choppy this market is. I mean, this is really, when you see something like this, you really want to stay out. There's nothing good about these things. So you'll be surprised to see that eventually I took this trade here. I was really out of frustration and desperation. So you really want to get in here, but this is a big round number, very close to daily pivot, which has been respected quite a lot of times, and you have no signal. The signal is actually here. So what you do is you have to wait for the big round number to be cleared. So I entered at 94, market went at 88. There was, well, the initial stop would have been up here, and then I move it down here, and then after this spike here, I move it up here, and luckily the market went down. I was quite happy about this, and I was quite confident about this, because after this complete indecision and big range, usually you have some sort of explosive movements, and I was quite happy to capitalize on that. As it happened, after this choppiness, I made a couple of mistakes in trade management, and I really decided to get out of break even. Also because, as you can see, this re-entry here is out of 4 o'clock. But this would have been a good trade. So overall, a very choppy, very tricky market, but we came out on top. Thank you.